What's good, everybody? Today we're going to be making a pop punk type beat for someone like MGK, something in that world that pop punk. Let's get into it. So first things first, your BPM and your sound selection is going to make the biggest difference in your pop punk. 160 BPM should kind of be your go-to BPM, and those live instruments and the drum pattern is really going to pull your beat together. The first thing I did is I went to Zenology, found kind of a live guitar. I ended up coming up with this pattern. So first I started with some chords. I started with my scale note, skip one place, skip place, skip place, and then I want to make it sound a little bit more full than this. So I started playing with the pitch of them. I pitched this A up, and I pitched these two notes up. Just makes it sound a little bit fuller. And then to try and help these chords transition into this pair of chords, I just started pitching these around to try and line up some of these chords so that the notes are close together so it flows nicely. So I pitched up this G, pitched up this B, and then I also ended up pitching up this C. Even though it matches here, I just felt like it just sounded better up here. Kind of helped build the tension in it. And then I carried on to the next set of chords and continued pitching those up. So I pitched this C up, left my A, pitched the E up, pitched the C up. And after I was done playing with all the notes and pitching them around, I kind of got this ascending pattern that just helped build the motion up throughout the progression of the loop. So I was happy with how it sounded, but now I needed to add in the chops to give it that repetitive guitar beat sound. So I took my slice tool and I started slicing the notes until I got kind of a good groove and rhythm. So I came up with this kind of slice pattern. And then after I had my notes sliced, I just took the same slice pattern and carried it on to all my sets of chords. They're different chords, but the same slice pattern, just to keep that rhythm going, but then the chords help it progress and sound different. And then I just took some of these notes out just to kind of give it a different feel. It just kind of gives it a little bit of a release so it's not quite so repetitive, but it's still got the same groove. Next I went to expand and got this muted electric guitar, and I played this rhythm. Add some low end and gives it that pace. And you can see if you copy these, they're just the same bass notes as our original guitar. We just sliced them more. So now we had a lot of low end and a lot of high end. We needed something just to fill in the mid. So I went to Zenology, found another guitar. So then I went into our muted guitar, copied the notes, pasted them into our mid frequency guitar, pitched them up just to kind of layer and fill out that mid frequency. That sounded like this. Next we needed a lead to make it really catchy, so we went and found another guitar, grabbed this picked guitar, and I played this pattern. These notes, if I copy them and paste them into our main chord that we built, we can see that they're all the same notes. They're just played in a different pattern to build that catchy lead. These little stabs kind of add in a cool little effect, like the guitar was like stopped playing like abruptly, and it just gives it like a cool little texture. So if you want to add that little effect, just add these little stabs in. Then I felt the low end could just use a little bit more bass. If nothing else, I could add in one more bass just to have an A section, a B section of my melody to just break up the arrangement a little bit. So I went into Zenology and found another bass and just a classic fingered bass guitar. It sounds like this. I took our original chords and guitar, rendered it out, again just to give it a different sound, and we can use it as an A section or a B section for the verse, for the hook, the bridge, whatever we want to do. Just another tool to use when we arrange our beat. So in my opinion, this sounds a little busy, but we start to strip it back, and it starts to sound pretty good. Once we add drums, we can use those other two sounds in different areas. So then we can do something like this. Sounds clean, bring in a sound, builds the energy up, still not quite too much. Come over to here, transition from the verse into the hook. Still sounds super clean, introduces a different element, changes it up, so now the artist has got a little bit more room to like get something off. They can change it up for the second half of the hook, kind of build it back up again. So after I had the melody laid out, I started laying down some drums, found this real snare. Again, sound selection. This sounds like a very classic drum snare. A typical trap pattern would hit here and carry on. And you could get away with that, but more of a pop pattern is placing it here and then just carrying that out through your beat. Then I went in and laid down a kick. Your snare and your kick pattern is going to be like the foundation of your pop beat. And that kind of do. That's kind of the pattern you want. And then you can kind of experiment from there and add notes in. If you wanted to, you could get the experimental and add in some rolls, or I don't know, bass note here. Now we're starting to get a pretty good drum bounce. So I went and found a close hi-hat. Just kind of brings up the pace. I made the velocities kind of swooping, just to kind of bring the energy up and down and up and down. And again, that's a live hi-hat. It sounds way different if you use like electronic trap type hi-hat. And because I still wanted this to have a little bit of a trap element, I added in a typical trap 808. So then for our 808, I went into our first instrument and set of chords that we started with, copied the bass notes, went to our 808, pasted them in, pitched them up to kind of that 5 range. Then I just sliced them wherever I felt the groove felt good, pitched some of them up just to kind of give them a different texture again. And that's all I did for the drums. This is the pattern. 4-bar intro with a lot of the instruments stripped back, dropped in my tag, brought the bass in for maybe kind of a pre-hook, brought the drums in for the start of the hook, slowly built up the energy into the second half of the hook, and the energy's flowing now. Added this riser in to help transition from the hook into the verse to make it really obvious, and again, we used that consolidated guitar that we made just to make the melody sound a lot different and just really tell the artist that we're switching from one section of the beat to the next. Brought the bass back in, took the 808 out. You don't want to play the bass and the 808 together, or it'll sound clashy. Added a little drum roll. Transition to the second part of the hook, or verse. And then I looped it over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. If you guys want this melody with FLP, make sure you hit the Discord link in the bio. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.